Thanks for coming. I'm Phil from Armeg. Has anybody heard of Armeg? That's a start.
Yes.
Well, that's better than usual. Sometimes there's a load of people that haven't heard of us. We are a manufacturer based just outside Sheffield. And where we started out in business is making masonry bits for drilling into concrete, brick, etc, etc. And we're the only people in the UK that still manufacture masonry bits. Everybody else has gone bust. All our competitors have gone bust. The reason we've managed to stay in business is because we've managed to diversify into a load of different other products as well. Now a lot of them are geared towards electrical install, which is pretty much why I'm talking to you guys today. And where we started out with that was the square hole drill, which we can show you in there later on the wall, but it's for whacking out back boxes using an SDS machine instead of using hammer and chisel. So it's a lot quicker, a lot easier and a lot neater. So electricians started to like us from that point, and then we started making a load of other products as well for electrical install. We started then next with the solid board cutter, which is for putting rebaited holes in chipboard flooring. What you'll find when you're doing install now is that most of the properties you go into to work will be chipboard flooring, 8 foot by 4 foot sheets of this stuff. Now in the past you would have ripped floorboards up, and in some properties you still will do. But the majority of properties now, you're going to be looking at 8 foot by 4 foot chipboard sheet. So if you need to do install work under that, it's a bit difficult to get the board up because it's, like I say, it's 8 foot by 4 foot, and usually there's an internal wall sat on top of it. So what we do is a cutter that will put rebaited holes in chipboard sheet. Now by rebaited, what we mean is there's a shelf around the edge of it, so it cuts the hole and it cuts that shelf as well. And then when you finish the installation work under the board, what you do is put one of these plastic caps in, and it always finishes flush with the top of the board. Now that gives you repeat access afterwards as well. So if you need to get back in from a later date to extra install or to do any maintenance work on that, you just lift that cap out, do what you need to do under the board, and then pop it back in again afterwards when you've finished. So that's a good time saver. What we've also got is a range of drill bits for drilling into timber, because what happens then a lot under the floor, you've got to drill through joists so you can run your cables across underneath the floor. So we do, has everybody ever used flat bits? You must have used flat bits, spade bits or whatever. There's various different names for them. And then there's a normal auger bit, which is a self-feed bit. It's got a spiral on it and only one cutting edge. What we do is something, it's a little bit different. It's still a self-feed bit. It's got a point on it, a spiral point, so it pulls it into the timber. And then instead of one cutting edge, which a traditional auger has got, these have got 4 cutting edges. So it cuts a lot more efficiently. And basically you just put it in the drill and you just put it onto the timber and press it, and it just pulls through easily with the minimum of effort. You know, on spade bits you've got to sort of push them to get them to go through the timber. Well, these ones you just press and it pulls through. So you're not really putting much effort into that at all, it's just pulling you through the timber. You've got to drill usually a succession of holes through joists to put your cables across, so you can imagine how fatiguing that gets when you're doing that on a regular basis. Now what these also are is impact driver rated. Do we need to have a chat about what impact drivers are? Does everybody know what an impact driver is? Yes. Yeah. Am I getting any no's? Because it saves a lot of time. Impact drivers, as you know, are traditionally designed for driving screws in. Now a lot of people think an impact driver is hammering like an SDS machine. Because of the noise it makes and the fact that it's called an impact driver, they think it's giving you the hammer action like a masonry drill. It's not. What it's doing is it's going backwards and forwards repeatedly like that. But it does it with a high torque as well. So because it does it with a high torque, it means it doesn't struggle. When it hits timber, it just whacks it round. So that makes it then a one-handed drilling operation, because it doesn't try and whip you around like a normal auger does. But an impact driver also is a short-bodied power tool. It's a lot shorter than a combi drill. So if you use it specifically with a short-length wood beaver, as opposed to a normal one in a combi drill, you can see the difference from front to back there is quite marked. So you'd be able to get that into spaces where you can't get that. I'm talking between joists, because they're usually 16-inch apart, which isn't a lot of room to get a power tool and a drill. So with this you can get it in quite easily, but it does make it one-handed. Now it is noisy, which is the only drawback with impact drivers, but you just put your iPod on, forget about it. See, all I'm doing there is just holding the trigger down. There literally is the minimum of effort, because a lot of the time you might be underneath the floor drilling through the joists that are above your head. So with that it's just one-handed, just let it pull you through, no problem. So that's the wood beaver. Everybody loved them, and then we started getting people say that's fantastic, but the problem is sometimes there's nails, screws, tacks, pins, all sorts of metal objects in the joists, and if you hit them with a traditional wood bit it can take the edge off the wood bit and you can damage them quite quickly. You might even not even get one hole out of them if you hit a screw. So what we did then is we brought out this one, which looks similar but it's not painted. These are painted red, these have got no painting on them. If you want to have a look in a bit close up you can see why, because it changes colour down the flute. We wanted people to see that they're made out of two different materials. So we've got high speed steel on the end of that. You might need to come a bit closer if you want to see this close up, but we've got some nails embedded in this timber. So what I'm going to do, I don't know if anybody can see the nails on there. See the heads of them. What I'm going to do is I'm going to drill into that one there. Now I've hit the nail. What happens when you hit a nail is you stop progressing, it stops pulling you through. So if you want to drill through that nail, now we've got to push on it, and the drill bit itself will actually cut through the nail. You can see the metal coming up out the hole as it's drilling the steel of the nail. What we get is stop pulling through there. Let's put it back in. Sometimes you get a small fragment of nail stuck on the end of the drill bit after it's drilled through the nail, and that stops you from progressing, so you just have to remove that and then go all the way through. But if you have a look closely at these in a bit, you can see that they've cleanly cut the nails as well. So as long as the nail doesn't move, it will cut it cleanly, and that means there's no fragments in there. So say if you need to drag any cabling through that hole, you're not going to snag up on the insulation and damage the insulation on the cabling. So that's wood beaver. They are available in stubby length in the ordinary. We do a 3-piece set of stubby length ones as well, with the main sizes that people use, 16, 20 and 25mm. The ordinary wood beaver in the normal length are available individually, and then in a 4-piece set as well, with the main sizes 16, 20, 25 and 32. Nail proof stubbies are available individually. We also do a 3-piece set, 16, 20 and 25mm in there, and then the long length nail proofs are only available individually in a variety of different sizes. Great product. So that's wood beaver. Then what we move on to is drilling metal. Any of you guys are looking at going into the commercial industrial side of it, you're going to be drilling through metal, but it's happening quite a bit in domestic as well with the metal clad consumer units, or if there's any cladding, any trunking inside properties. So has anybody ever used a normal conventional style hole saw in steel? It tends to be quite a poor quality hole, because they're quite a broad tooth on a normal hole saw, so they tend to wander quite a bit on the surface of the steel before they start cutting, so we get an oversized hole and a poor quality hole. It also tends to take a long time to get through as well, because we're trying to shove a broad tooth through there, so it's removing quite a lot of material. So what we've done for that is we've designed a purpose-built sheet steel hole saw. These are just for sheet steel, up to 1.6mm maximum thickness. If you drill through thicker, you will damage them. So it's up to 1.6mm maximum thickness, which is fine for most applications that it's designed to be used in, i.e. drilling trunking, cabinets, panels, enclosures, that kind of thing. We've got a piece of trunking here, it's 1mm thick galvanized steel, so it's perfect for this product. Now, how we get through as quickly as possible is there's only a 4mm diameter pilot. Standard hole saws use an adapter that's got a 6mm pilot, so it takes longer to get that through. We've got a very fine tooth on there, which is good for rapid material removal. We've only got a very thin wall on it as well, so we're not removing loads of material we don't need to. There's a shoulder on there, so when you drill through it stops. A conventional hole saw will carry on all the way through. And then what you're going to find then is that you sometimes struggle to get it back out again afterwards. But also, if you've got any cabling inside there, if it's a panel or a cabinet or something like that, you run the risk of damaging the cabling or the equipment that's inside it. So the shoulder helps to stop that happening. There's also a spring on there. So any hole saw will form a disc of material, like a penny washer it looks like. The disc will spring it out afterwards, so you're not wasting time removing them as well. I'll show you how quick these are. We threw a piece of sheet steel in no time at all. We've got no disc left in the hole saw because it's pinged it out. We've got a real good quality hole as well, the minimum of wandering, so it's an accurate hole, and it was easy to get it out again afterwards. They are also impact driver rated, which is something that is really unusual in a metal cutting hole saw. The advantage of impact drivers, as we spoke about earlier, the short body of the power tool, you'll be able to get it in spaces where you can't get your combi drill, but it also makes it the one-handed drilling operation that we spoke about as well. Just doesn't seem right drilling into steel with an impact driver, but that's what we're doing a lot of at the minute. We're bringing accessories out that mean you can drill with your impact driver. A lot of the occasions it means you've only got one power tool then. You don't need to mess about with your combi drill. They're the Accelerate hole saws. There's quite a few copies of them on the market at the moment. People have looked at what we've done and they've copied it and they've tried to make them cheaper, which usually means making them out of cheaper materials. So what you'll find with this kind of hole saw is they've all got high-speed steel teeth on the end of them. Now, high-speed steel is like, if you think of it like a cake, you can put different ingredients in it to give it different properties. So what we've got with our high-speed steel on these teeth is a high cobalt content. Now, cobalt's a material that gives you good wear resistance when it gets hot, so they're going to last a long time. A lot of the cheaper end ones have got a standard high-speed steel, no cobalt, and they wear out in no time at all. What we also do is a similar type of product, but these are for thicker steel. These are called the LDX Cutters. Again, they've got shoulders on there to stop you going all the way through. The springs as well to eject the discs of material. Now what these are designed for is your thicker steel or stainless. Now some of you might not be aware of the problems associated with stainless, but if you end up in factories that are preparing foods, in hospitals, there's a lot of stainless steel there. Now if you drill stainless steel wrongly, you get it hot. Now when you get stainless steel hot, you work hard on it, it becomes hard, and then you'll not get through it with anything. So these are good for stainless steel because they run at higher speeds than standard hole saws, and it means that they're not going to get it hot because they're cutting efficiently. They're also good for thick steel. The one I'm going to show you now is a long series one. This will coat with up to 25mm thick steel in a battery drill. Usually you'd have to get heavy equipment out to drill this kind of material, but these cutters enable you to do it quickly and easily just using a battery drill. I use a bit of cutting compound, because that keeps the heat down as well. Now heat kills cutting tools. If you drill anything and you get it really hot, the accessory, it's going to wear out quicker than if you keep it cool. So with a lubricant it helps that. This is mild steel, it's 4mm thick. I'm going to drill the pilot drill a lot faster than the hole saw. So once I'm through with the pilot drill, I'm going to drop the speed down so we're closer to the recommended speed for the hole saw itself. And that's quick. That's only 4mm. That's 4mm thick steel, and we're through in a few seconds. And it's ejected the disc of material again. Now you might be wondering why you're going to drill that kind of thickness of steel. It's mainly for industrial guys when they're drilling through girders and things in the roofs and struts like that, where they've got to put holes through really thick steel. So they're the LDX cutters that are available in a variety of different diameters. We do step drills and cone drills as well. Now these are made for us by a company in Sheffield called GMJ Holes, who are a good old-fashioned engineering manufacturers. They're quality tools, these. And what these give you is a variety of different diameters on the same tool. Again, they're more geared towards the industrial guys who are drilling into trunking and that kind of thing. We do a cone drill as well that hasn't got the defined steps on it that a step drill has. So there's a bit more guesswork involved with these. But where these really come into their own is if you have to open holes out. They might get on a job, that's a 20mm hole we've just put in there, and we need to open it out to 25. Now the problem with doing that is if you want to use a hole saw, obviously you've got no material left for the pilot drill to centre in. So it's going to be awkward. But with a cone drill or a step drill, they're self-centering, so you just drop it in the hole and you can open the hole out quickly and easily. The step drills have got defined steps on them, so they're all marked up, they're all graduated. You've got all the diameters marked on there. So what you would do with that one is just count down the steps to the diameter that you want, and every time it goes down a step it bumps. You feel it in the drill, bump, bump, bump. So you count down the steps and then stop at the diameter that you want. So they're GMJ Hole step drills and cone drills. They are interesting products. It's a good one to have in the toolbox. Like I say, we're going to cover the square hole drills later. We can have a look at the SDS chisels as well, because we can do some channeling as well. We do SDS shank chisels. Does everybody know what SDS machines are? We do, yeah? The quick change masonry, yeah. So they're a good machine for chiseling, because you can turn the rotation off and just have the hammer action. So then you can chisel with them. It's a good installation tool. We do screwdriver bit sets, mainly for impact drivers, variety of different ones. Usually use a bit holder. So you pop the bit holder in the impact driver and then you can interchange with these little bits depending on what screws it is that you're driving in. This is an interesting one. It's a very popular one because we've got a little ratchet in there, and you can put individual screwdriver bits in that ratchet and doesn't take much room up. So it's great for tight access into spaces where you can't get a normal screwdriver. What you can do as well is use it a conventional ratchet. Put that one in now, it's got a 1/4 inch square drive on it, so we can drive sockets off it as well. It's brilliant for tight access. Really popular product. Also on the theme of screw driving, torque screwdrivers. Have you covered torque screwdrivers? Yeah, so you're aware of the need for tightening terminals up to a predetermined torque set down by the manufacturer. We do torque screwdrivers, and they're all VDE rated. And ours, you'd adjust them on the end using this tool, You can wind it around from 1 to 6 Newton meters, which is quite a big range. A lot of the other ones on the market stop at sort of 3.5 Newton meters, whereas ours goes up to 6. You'll find that everybody who does torque screwdrivers does them with interchangeable blades, because the handle itself is quite expensive. There's a lot of complicated mechanics inside that handle to allow it to break at the correct torque. So everybody goes interchangeable, because to put one of them types of handle on the end of every blade is going to cost an absolute fortune. So because we've gone interchangeable, it means we can add extra handles into the range. So we do a normal handle, so you can use all the blades just as a normal screwdriver if you want, save you having to buy other ones. We also do a T handle. These are handy for everybody struggling with the wrists a little bit. It's a bit more ergonomic. You can grab hold of it and tighten up a little bit easier using the T handle. There's a massive range of blades, what we do for different type screws, and the blades themselves, one of the things we do is they're not that expensive to buy afterwards. There's a lot of people who'll tie you into a system and then the price of the blades afterwards is phenomenal. We charge maybe £4.50 per blade, so they're not massively expensive to get yourself kitted up with. There's a load of other stuff we do as well. We're into hand tools a little bit. We don't specialise in it, but these are really nicely made, good quality hand tools. We've got 2 pliers. We do the cutters as well, including the high leverage ones. We do these, which are quite interesting. Water pump pliers. Anybody used this type of tool before? And you have to drop them in specific grooves, don't you, to get them to whatever diameter. They can be a bit of a pain. Well, these ones, they self-adjust. You just open them up like that and then you squeeze them. And they gradually ratchet down onto whatever size you want to grip. So whichever diameter it is, we just squeeze and it grips automatically without messing about trying to adjust it. We do those in 3 different sizes. We do a 7-inch, a 10-inch and a 12-inch. The 10-inch is the most popular. We do a quick change knife. Utility knife. I'll not say Stanley knife, but it's a utility knife. So if that blade becomes useless, you don't want to use it anymore, press that button in, pull it out, pull that lever back, and then it feeds another one in. And it'll hold 5 blades in that handle. Quite chunky as well, so you feel under control of it. I don't like flimsy knives where, you know, you've got something quite sharp and aggressive on the end of it, and if the knife's flimsy, you don't feel in control of it. It's nice and chunky and it feels like you've got it under control. Board saws, plaster board saws. There's a load of these on the market, and there's some really bad quality ones on there, so be careful. You've got ones with really narrow blades on them, really thin, and when you're supposed to punch them into the plasterboard like that to get them started, and if the thin blades tend to buckle as well, so you can cause problems with that. Has got a flaring on the handle as well on the end, so you're not going to slip off the handle and grab hold of the teeth while you're cutting. So that's a quick overview of everything. If you want to come around and have a look and ask any questions, that's not a problem. And then we'll move on to the square hole drilling later.
Have a look.
Yeah, feel free. Have a look if you like. Ask any questions.